Welcome to the Tell Me Something Good podcast. Ranked by the International Association of Awesome Podcasts as the best podcast in the history of podcasts. Wait, is that a thing? I don't think that's a thing. Anyway, seeking to shine a light on all that is good in an ever-darkening world of negativity. Here's your host, Clint Swindall.
Hey everybody, I'm Clint Swindall, and this is the Tell Me Something Good podcast. Welcome back to the show that is all about creating a more positive world by overcoming negativity. It is my goal every time I do one of these episodes to engage your mind, encourage your heart, or enlighten your soul. I am so happy you are here. This is episode number 7 of the Tell Me Something Good podcast, entitled Dignity for the Disadvantaged, brought to you by Let's Talk Smack, an app that provides daily nudges to take your social media game to a whole new level. If you're wanting to have a more engaging presence on social media, either personally or professionally, you need a plan, and the Let's Talk Smack app can help you develop your plan. Check it out wherever you get your apps. If you've been with me a few episodes, and I sure hope you have, then you know that each episode offers a little something different. From good news segments to content on dealing with negativity to interviews, you'll find we try to deliver value in a number of ways. One of those ways is introducing you to good people doing good things. We did that in episode number 4 when we spent time with T-Bone Bounds, the founder of the Hope Hits Harder Cancer Foundation, and we're going to do it again today. My guest today is doing some incredible work helping kids in the foster care system. Before I introduce you to him, I want to set the stage by sharing some information with you. While we're all aware of the foster care system, we may not know many of the details, so here are some recent facts. There are approximately 440,000 children in the foster care system in the U.S. Despite the two most common perceptions that foster children are very young or just unruly teenagers, the average age is only 8 years old. Every year, nearly 20,000 young people age out of the foster care system without permanent families. And of the youth who age out of the system, 25% are incarcerated within 2 years, and only 50% graduate from high school. And sadly, 70% of girls who age out will become pregnant before age 21. I could go on and on. These kids get to the foster care system because the state has removed them from their homes due to some form of abuse or neglect. Many of them pack their belongings and carry them from home to home in nothing more than a black trash bag, as if all they have in the world is trash. My wife Heather and I are familiar with these statistics because we created a foundation for abandoned, abused, and neglected children 16 years ago. It's called the First Chance Foundation. We work with organizations throughout the year that take care of kids struggling to find their way in the world. We created the foundation because we listened to a whisper from God to do something to help. We don't have children of our own and believe this is our bigger purpose. If you spend any time at all around kids in the system, you'll be inspired to help as well. My guest today was inspired to do something to help when he was just 5 years old. God planted a seed in him that would grow 11 years later when he was only 16 years old. His story is an incredible example of a good person out doing good stuff. I'll let him tell you the story. His name is Hunter Beaton, and he's our guest today on the Tell Me Something Good podcast. Let's see if we can fire up this dial-up modem and get this call going. I'm just kidding. We are on the super fast fiber optic network of GVTC. It is all good. Hello, Hunter. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks, Clint. So happy to be here. It's such a pleasure, and it's a big honor to be a part of this fantastic podcast.
Well, we're going to have a little fun today, and because your story is so unique. So let's get right to it. Tell us what happened in your life for the first time when you were 5 years old that inspired you to make a difference in the lives of kids in the foster care system.
It's a really amazing story, and I love telling it just because it's actually very universal, especially around the foster care system. I thought my story was unique, but it's actually not. And so what happened when I was 5 years old, my cousin was placed into the foster care system and they didn't have a place for him. So they didn't have a shelter ready to go. And it was a very all of a sudden thing. And so my parents immediately went into San Antonio and picked up my cousin. And I remember being 5 years old and sitting outside of an apartment complex and thinking, oh, what's going to happen? Because I had no clue of what the details of what was going on and why I was in San Antonio. And then, unbeknownst to me, a baby just comes straight into the car. And right then and there, it was just amazing. But what struck me, especially at that time and the subsequent times with my now, they're all adopted siblings, is that the baby and especially my other siblings came to our home and with us, but with nothing but a trash bag full of any of the items that they had. And it was just astounding to see that even at a young age, I was able to recognize that this child had nothing to them, nothing that they could call their own, no toys, no clothes, and that was really astounding to me.
At such a low point in their life, having to go through that kind of a change and then having to carry all of their life's belongings in a trash bag. Let me ask you a question. When you first saw that, when you first saw your now siblings coming to live with you, carrying everything they owned in a black trash bag, how did that make you feel? Were you angry? Were you sad? What emotion did you have?
I was mostly confused. I had gone most of my life thinking everything is so peachy and dory. It's just a beautiful life we live in, and I agree. I think what the day to day and the life that I live is surrounded by positivity, and I try to do that for myself. Especially at a young age, I always looked at the good things in life. But the reality kind of came in that some children and don't receive the same, I guess, gifts and opportunities and blessings that I have, and I needed to recognize that. But at a young age, I was so confused why this child had a trash bag. I was almost tempted to ask my parents, "Why are they carrying trash? Let's just throw that away."
Sure.
And ironically, the clothes and the stuff that was in there was just so disgusting in the first place that we had to toss it. It just smelled like smoke and just dirty, and so that's the irony of it. But at first, I was just like, "Man, what's going on here? Why don't they have a backpack? I had a backpack that day, so why don't they have some kind of thing to carry their stuff in?"
I don't have to carry my stuff around in a trash bag. In fact, I don't know anybody who does carry their valuables around in a trash bag. Why do they have to do that? Why don't they have
Hmm.
something meaningful to carry their things around in? So everyone gets emotional about things in their life. We see things that make us angry. We see things that make us sad. We see things that make us confused. Most people just process the emotion and move on. What did you do with that emotion in your life?
And almost in a way, Clint, I think I did process it and just kind of put it away for my life because a majority of my life I was young and I just thought, huh, that's interesting, kind of weird, don't really understand it. Maybe I'll understand it when I'm older.
Sure.
Maybe that's something that it comes along later. But in reality, it never did. And so I tried my best to process it and push it away or just kind of subdue that thought. But by the time I was 16, or 15 rather, I was a Life Scout, searching to have an Eagle Scout project to complete my Eagle Scout rank. And I remember thinking of all the projects that I could do and a lot of the stereotypical projects that are always very good and very useful, mostly like buildings or some kind of bench or some kind of walkway. And I was contemplating all of those, but an idea crept in my mind that maybe I can do something that's along the lines of these foster children. Maybe I could supply them bags when they move from home to home, just like my adopted siblings did. They could have something to carry their belongings in, and that's just kind of the thought process, and that's kind of how I interpreted those feelings that I had at the beginning of a very young age of my life.
And you were how old?
I was 15.
You were 15 years old. And so at that point, you needed an Eagle Scout program.
Hmm.
And that ultimately led to you doing what?
It ultimately led me to start eventually, now today, a nonprofit, but back then, simply a project to supply 100 duffel bags to my county and give them these bags filled with supplies. So whenever the foster child or foster children are moving from a home to home, whether that be an actual placement, so whether they're coming from one place to another or they're going into a shelter or whatnot, they will always have one bag that they can call theirs. They can say, "This is mine, and I can always take this with me to school, to work if they're older, to wherever."
And to quite frankly, give them a little dignity when they show up, that they're not dragging around all their belongings in a trash bag.
Exactly.
So you did 100 bags as a part of your Eagle Scout program. Where did it go from there?
Where it went from there was quite surprising. Once I finished my Eagle Scout project, I vowed and I said, "I'm done with this." Not that I didn't like it. I loved it. I think it was such an amazing opportunity. Got to meet some really incredible people. But I just wanted my Eagle Scout project and to be done, and I wanted my Eagle Scout rank so I could move on with my life. After that, I thought, I'm done with this. I loved it. It was a good experience, but I'm ready to move on. And after that, I got receiving some calls from the agencies and the nonprofits that I was working with. And they were like, "Your bags are awesome. They are moving out like hotcakes. They are great. And the kids love them." And I was like, "Great." But a thought occurred in my mind that they had already given away 6 of my 100 bags in just like 2 weeks. And I thought, it's finally working. But then another part of my mind said, wow, that's already a lot for just a short amount of time. They're going to end up being done with it by the end of the year. They're going to have no more bags to give out.
Yep.
They're going to go back to black trash bags. And so I figured, you know what? This is my opportunity to extend the grace that I was given in making a project and hopefully continue it and make it even grow larger. And so that's kind of the start of Day One Bags.
So it started out as an Eagle Scout program where you created 100 bags. You realized those were going to be given out very quickly and then decided, I want to make sure that I continue doing this into the future. So you created a program called Day One Bags that now is an official 501c3. Obviously, your intent now is to grow way beyond that 100. Tell me where you are right now.
So this was almost actually 4 years ago today that I'd started it. And it's amazingly and tremendously grown by the generous donations of the community. And I'm always blown away by how giving and loving and supportive the community is of these foster children. And we had given over 30,000 bags to Texas and 14 other states.
15 states and 30,000 bags.
Yes, sir.
Wow. All from a seed that was planted in you by your maker at the age of 5, and then at the age of 8, and then at the age of 11, as you got all of your now siblings all along. And then at 15 and 16, God watered that seed. And not only did it affect 100 children in need, now it's affected 30,000 in 15 states.
It's tremendous, and I can't believe it some days. I honestly, it's by the grace of God that I'm here. Truly, I know for sure I would not be able to do it all on my own without him always leading me to the path that I know he's meaning to find for me.
I've said on many occasions in my life, I don't know that there's any better feeling than being used by God. And there's no question in my mind, that's exactly what he's done with you.
I love that.
What's included in the bag? What's this child initially? Obviously, they'll use that bag for many things going forward, but what do they initially get in that bag?
This is a really interesting part and chapter of Day One Bags because I started out with the Eagle Scout project filling the bags. I had given them blankets, or for the younger and infants, diapers, diaper wipes, toys, accessories, so any kind of coloring books or colors, and for the older children, maybe some kind of supplies that they may need, shampoo, conditioner, anything like that. As time progressed and I continued my project, I just recognized it was so incredibly difficult to figure out what every child needs. And I made this strategic decision to, instead of focusing on how I can fill the bags with anything, I would just say, you know what? I'm going to just give the bags and just find the bare bones and just simply say, this bag can hold and cherish any of the items that they do have. And I hoped that this would be kind of some way to give them at least a little bit of dignity, even though it's not necessarily filled. It's something that they can call their own, nevertheless.
So at this point, they're just getting the bag.
Yes. So at just this point, the bare bones day one bags is giving just the bags. But I have done other operations or simple little additives to this where I go like every quarter in the year, I try to do something special. And like just this past month in May, I did a adopt a foster senior where I say we, me and a friend of mine, Allie Graves, she is a graduating foster senior actually. And she wanted to start a program where we give all the graduating seniors, the class of 2020, of course, like all their life, looking forward to this moment of graduation, got uprooted and terribly just confused because of the coronavirus and the pandemic that's going on. And we wanted to give the foster children not only one of my day one bags, but also supply it with a gift card for $100, basically giving these youth a opportunity to branch out after they graduate. And so the point of that is I still do the bags as the bottom portion of what I do, but there's been times in every quarter where I try to fill it with something new and maybe a little bit exciting, depending upon where I can fit it in.
So you mentioned University of Texas at Austin. Obviously, you now have gone on to college. You're in your sophomore year, getting on with what sophomores in college get on with doing. Tell me how your efforts are impacting those around you. It's not always the case where you look around and you see your fellow students doing something that's impacting others the way you have. Tell me how your efforts are impacting your fellow students.
It's actually really incredible. And I think people don't understand the capacity that today's college students desire for change and desire for something to do more and to call something their own and to make them known. I think anybody who knows me, especially at UT, will say they had no clue I was running an operation or a nonprofit like this. When I first want to meet someone, I want them to find out who I really am, and I find out my type of humor, my passions, my aspirations. And then when they get to know me more, they find out, wow, this guy's doing something really incredible. And I hope in my mind is that they can associate with me when they first meet me and they say, "Oh, I'm just like this guy. We have the same humor. We both desire to be, I don't know, something great in our lives." And turns out he's doing something really incredible. What's stopping me from doing something incredible like that? So I just remember and recalling so many examples of I'd be talking with someone at lunch and they'd be saying, especially when you're a freshman at college, you're just getting to know people. They'll say, just what do you do in your free time? And I say, well, I have a nonprofit and I run that. And they go, you have a nonprofit? And I go, yeah. And I tell them the whole story. And they go, oh my gosh, that's incredible. Is there any way I can help you? And without a fail, everyone wants to help me and do something a part of this, and I think that's super incredible and so caring because so many times I feel like if I just stopped it or passed it along, would it still continue? And I know that I have people that really care for me and care for what I'm doing and want to help and desire to have it succeed.
Obviously, you started Day One Bags. It was your brainchild. It was a need that you saw that needed to be addressed, and you dealt with that. I'm curious, what can people learn from your efforts to even begin a program like Day One Bags? What can the average listener learn from you?
People can learn from my story that it doesn't take a billionaire or a genius to have a change.
Mm.
All it does is it takes not even experience, it just takes an idea. No matter if that idea is something you physically experienced or you saw somewhere or you heard a story of, the fact is the way you can make a change is to find your passions, find your strengths, and use those to your advantage to foster and develop that idea that you had. And something needs to be said about there needs to be perseverance because I think when it comes to you have this great idea and you're thinking, oh, I would love to do that, but I just don't have the time. Or I don't even know where to start. I think the important thing is just begin. make a call to someone you know and ask them, "Hey, how can I get started with this?" Or where is the beginning and how can I even put this into action? And I think it's taking that first step and trusting in the Lord that what you're doing is gonna be fruitful and will grow into something great. I think learning that it doesn't take someone bigger than you to do what you think is right and to make a change. And so I like to have my story as an example that it doesn't take those kind of people in order to make a change that you desire to have happen.
To go back to day one bags, how much does it cost you to provide a bag to a single child?
To a single child, a bag costs around $10. That's the general cost. Could be a little less, could be a little more, depending upon the time of year.
Well, Hunter, you're doing good work, my friend. Your efforts are helping bring dignity to kids who are at a very tough time in their life. As you know, my wife and I have our foundation for abandoned, abused, neglected children, the First Chance Foundation. So we recognize the impact you're having, and we want to support your efforts. So we are going to be sending you a check for $5,000 to support 500 day one bags.
Oh my gosh, wow, that's incredible. Thank you so much.
We have incredible donors who are very passionate about supporting our cause. And we are the stewards of those dollars, and we ensure that they get directed to the locations where we believe they're going to have the greatest impact. And knowing that 500 kids will have a new level of dignity in their life because of the work that you're doing with Day One Bags, I don't believe we have a single sponsor or a single donor in our organization that would have a single problem knowing that their dollars are going to support Day One Bags.
Oh my gosh, wow, what a blessing. Thank you so much. This is oh, incredible, and it's thank you. That's all I could say. Thank you so much.
Well, you're very welcome. Again, we've been blessed with really nice donors and very big-hearted people, and that's why we exist, is to help organizations like yours. They're having an impact in the lives of those who have been abandoned, abused, or neglected. It's a big issue. It's an issue that a lot of people don't consider. I've always said that we support organizations that we have some sort of connection to. So you have a connection to it because you witnessed it with your now siblings when they showed up to your house. So you had a connection to that. And often we have people who support, animal shelters because dogs or cats are very important to them. And so we often support organizations that somehow we're connected to. Too often people don't see the problem of abandoned, abused, and neglected children unless they were abandoned, abused, or neglected, or they witnessed it. So it's often a challenge that goes unnoticed. And so part of our goal in life is to figure out how to raise awareness of that challenge and to get people to understand their need to support something that they may not necessarily have witnessed in their life. And so you're out there doing good work. You're an inspiration to young people. You're an inspiration to old people. You're an inspiration to anybody who's out there trying to make a difference in the world. And it's our honor to be able to help you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's such an honor to be on the show. And thank you so much for your gracious contribution and so incredibly inspired by your foundation and, of course, the podcast as well.
Well, Hunter, it's been awesome having you on the show. As a small way of saying thank you, we're going to send you a Tell Me Something Good gift bag. It's going to have a t-shirt and a custom challenge coin and all kinds of logoed Tell Me Something Good stuff. It's a cool little bag. It's just a small way of us saying thank you for being a guest on the Tell Me Something Good podcast. What an inspiration. The work Hunter is doing is significant and meaningful. What an impact he is making. And by the way, if you would like to help, go to the Day One Bags Facebook page or email Hunter at dayonebags@gmail.com. That's day, the numeric 1, bags@gmail.com. After being inspired by Hunter's story, we definitely need to leave today with a challenge. Before I give you the challenge to complete before you come back for the next episode, I want to remind you that this episode has been brought to you by Let's Talk Smack, an app that provides daily nudges to take your social media game to a whole new level. If you're wanting to have a more engaging presence on social media, either personally or professionally, you need a plan, and the Let's Talk Smack app can help you develop the plan. Check it out wherever you get your apps. And now for the challenge. I want you to think about what you've been exposed to in your life that may have been a bigger purpose for you. Maybe it wasn't given to you as a child. Maybe it was given to you as an adult. Maybe it's something that excites you. Maybe it's something that angers you. Whatever it may be, could it have been placed in your life as something for you to take on as a bigger purpose? Think about it and determine if there is something you should be doing to add some good to this world. Well, that's all for today's episode of the Tell Me Something Good podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you can, leave me a rating and review. Your support can help someone else as we work to spread positivity to the world. To encourage you to leave a review, we're giving something away. If you leave a review, you'll be entered into a drawing for a Tell Me Something Good gift package. The package includes all kinds of awesome stuff with an array of Tell Me Something Good logoed items, including a t-shirt and a custom challenge coin and all kinds of cool stuff. We'll also include a signed copy of my first book, Engaged Leadership. All you need to do is leave a review and you are entered. Also, visit findthegoodinlife.com. While you're there, you can find everything related to Tell Me Something Good, all the links to join us on social media, and a place to share your good stuff or ask questions for the podcast. Thanks for listening. Until next week, I'll be praying for God to bless you in mighty ways. Now, get out there and love on somebody.
You've been listening to the Tell Me Something Good podcast. The content of the podcast is meant to engage, encourage, and enlighten you to become more positive. It's not meant to diagnose, treat, or replace the personalized care provided by a trained professional. If you're struggling with depression or mental health issues, please reach out to a counselor for diagnosis and treatment. Until next time, be positive, people.